What's up, YouTube family? It's been a minute. It's been a little while. Man, where y'all been at? What y'all been up to? No, it's been a while. I've been busy. I've been working a lot. I'm trying to keep stuff together around the house. You just get busy when you're somebody like me that work a lot and you got a lot of responsibilities and you got a lot of goals you want to accomplish. Things that are not extremely important kind of get put to the wayside. Not meaning that you guys not important, not meaning that the information that I want to get to you guys is not important, but other things become prioritized and other things become more important. So I got a good chapter out of the book I want to read to you guys today, which is really good. We focus a lot on Tupac, 2-3 videos down. This time we're going to focus on Biggie, which has a lot to do. His situation has a lot to do with Tupac's situation in the East Coast versus the West Coast feud that was propagated. And, a lot of people died. A lot of people, careers got made. A lot of people made money on a coastal war that Tupac said would have never been advertised if these media companies and these record companies would not have said it exists. Nobody would. It was an issue between two people, maybe two heads of record companies and maybe two artists that blew up, and a lot of people died. Like I said, a lot of people made careers though. At the same time, a lot of people made money. The people that made money probably shouldn't have been making money off of this so-called East Coast versus West Coast war, which is old. You know what I'm saying? We're going back to the 90s. So this video, this presentation is specifically about Biggie's assassination. It's about Biggie's murder. Okay, so when Death Row assassinated Tupac, okay, they had a plan B. They had another plan to make this look like the East Coast versus the West Coast, to make this look like a huge gang situation. When you get a large group of black people, it's a gang. So when this looked like a huge gang situation, they had to get rid of Biggie because it would have washed their hands. It would have looked like Death Row killed Tupac. It would have looked like just gangs. It would look like this happened organically, which it didn't or happen organically. A lot of this stuff is organized, and you're going to see a lot of organized crime involved in a lot of these murders as well. So in the thumbnail, this is a exclusive picture. You're not going to find this picture nowhere else, okay? If you follow Biggie's assassination, you know who that is in the thumbnail. And you know what car that is in the thumbnail as well. That car is very familiar to you. Russell Poole, a detective that went against the LAPD because as he investigated both of these murders, he saw a lot of rogue cops being involved in these murders. Gangbangers were involved. A lot of gangbangers were involved in being cover-ups, or being people who were able to be, the blame was able to be put on. But when it comes to actual assassination and orchestrating the details and strategizing, police were involved in this. Both drive-bys were police orchestrated drive-bys, okay? These happened in public places, okay? There was no APBs, there was no helicopters in the sky, there was little to no information being put out about the assailants, okay? So for these things to happen so smoothly and for them both to be pretty much unsolved, literally unsolved, 20 plus years later, okay, there had to have been an organized crime element. There had to have been a police element in regards to both of these murders. If there were simple gangbang assassinations or gangbang murders, or just simple, the homeboys came in and killed whoever, if it was that simple, these murders would have been solved. They would have been more than happy to solve them. But these murders can't be solved specifically, all right? Because people are still alive. There's people who are dead, specifically witnesses, very important witnesses that would have been able to provide details that would have gotten a lot of people or some people locked up. And those people who would have got locked up would have told on other people. So with that being said, I'm going to read this chapter. The FBI and ATF watch again as death row cops are nailed in Biggie's murder. Okay, again, that means that they watched before. So they watched Tupac get murdered. Now they're about to watch Biggie get murdered. Okay, And like I said, I put this picture in the thumbnail. You're probably not going to be able to find it nowhere else but here on my channel. But that's Amir Muhammad, the alleged assassinate, that's the alleged trigger man, who I believe is a trigger man. Now he claims that he's a mortgage broker, and I could have never done this. I'm a mortgage broker. So you're a mortgage broker, but you can't kill nobody, okay? And he has a rap sheet, okay? And he has a propensity for violence. That's documented, okay? So this picture that I have in the thumbnail is Amir Muhammad posing outside of the door to Impala. You know what I mean? Like it's all good. You know what I mean? And this is probably like before Biggie's murder. I don't know the date on the picture, but the picture is there. And the picture is damning. It's damning evidence. So let me go ahead and read this chapter to you. 6 months after Tupac Shakur's murder, a gunman murdered chart-topping rapper Biggie Smalls, aka Notorious B.I.G. born Christopher Wallace. The gunman fatally shot Biggie from his car after midnight on March 9, 1997, in Los Angeles, a few months after the murder of Yafu Fula. And Yafu Fula is the witness that said he could describe the driver, and some have said the shooter of Tupac Shakur. Okay, he was behind Tupac and Suge's BMW as the assassin was shooting at Tupac. So he saw the gunman, and he also saw the driver. So their eyes connected as they drove by. As the Cadillac drove by, Yafu Fula connected eyes with the gunman and possibly the driver. But that they have said that the information has come out now. 10 years ago, this information wasn't out, but now people are talking more. People get more comfortable, and people are telling the truth. After so many years, people are telling the truth. But I don't want to get hung up on that. And a year before that of Orlando Anderson. Orlando Anderson was the patsy. He was the person that was blamed for Tupac's assassination. And he was murdered in 1998. Los Angeles police detective Russell Poole first took an interest in Biggie's murder investigation after he investigated the murder of death row cop Kevin Gaines. Working on that case led to him stumbling upon the corrupt activities of death row's Los Angeles police officers. In doing so, he gained an assignment as an investigator in Biggie's case, the next Tupac-linked murder. So right after Tupac was assassinated, 6 months later, Biggie's assassinated. Poole provided a highly credible source on the activities of the Los Angeles police. Poole's father worked for decades in LAPD, and Poole himself had 10 years of homicide investigation experience, so he knows what he's talking about. During those years, he received a regular accommodation and promotions to reach the high-level Bureau of Special Operations. Poole's investigation led filmmaker Nick Broomfield to feature in a major theatrical release, Biggie and Tupac. Rolling Stone and Esquire magazine writer David Randall Sullivan also featured Poole in his book Labyrinth. Both film and book came after Poole's resignation due to the LAPD stonewalling his investigation. So he was in a couple of movies, and I believe he made a couple of books too in regards to the investigation. But after he couldn't get any support from the LAPD, he resigned. Poole's investigation, with the help of fellow officer Ken Knox, accumulated direct witnesses and solid evidence that the LAPD cops working with Death Row orchestrated Biggie's murder and trafficked drugs. As detailed, Poole had also found evidence that Death Row cops orchestrated Tupac's murder. According to Poole, these cops murdered Biggie to further divert people's attention. That's what I just said. They wanted to make it look as if Tupac's murder stemmed from the East-West rap rivalry. When Poole communicated these findings to his LAPD superiors, they ignored his reports, transferred him to another division, and threatened him. Imagine you're doing your job, right? You're following up on leads that are credible, right? And they're leads directly to your department, the same people that employ you, the same people that pay you. Imagine how he was feeling. Biggie was murdered when a gunman pulled up next to his car and fatally shot him outside an automotive museum party in early March of 1997. Quincy Jones' Quest Records and Vibe magazine held the party in conjunction with the 11th annual Soul Train Music Awards. Many Los Angeles police officers were present at the high publicity event, including some who were moonlighting as bodyguards for the record label that produced Biggie, Sean Puffy Combs' Bad Boy Records. But few attempted to pursue the gunman. and the guards reportedly couldn't even get a partial license plate number or a good enough description for police to trace the gunman's car. Biggie's friends, rapper James Lil Cease Lloyd and Damian D-Rock Butler, were riding in the backseat of Biggie's car when he was murdered. They described the shooter for a police artist to make a composite sketch of the gunman the next day. When Las Vegas Sun reporter Kathy Scott asked the Los Angeles police for a copy of the sketch, they said it wasn't kept on file. The sketch took 36 months to get into the media, and then only when it was leaked. Butler and Little Cease, Lloyd's police sketch of the killer reportedly matched Harry Billups, aka Amir Muhammad, a close friend of death row cop David Mack. Now, the person the person's name I just said, that's the person in the thumbnail, okay? And I believe they're going to describe the car, the getaway car, and that getaway car he's standing right next to in his thumbnail. Another witness more clearly identified Billups. Filmmaker Broomfield showed a photo lineup to Eugene Deal, a New York State parole officer working as a bodyguard for Sean Puffy Combs. From that lineup, Deal picked Harry Billups as a Biggie's killer. Now, Harry Billups is Amir Muhammad. That's the same person. He just has another alias. Deal's description of the killer also matched Lloyd's description of Biggie's murderer. Detective Poole presented witness Damian Butler another photo lineup, and Butler identified police officer David Mack as standing just outside the Automotive Museum party in street clothes shortly before Biggie's murder. Okay, now David Mack is a part of that death row police officer crew that were employed at death row. More evidence indicating Mack was that Biggie's murder used a German-made brand of bullets rarely found in LA, yet Mack had them in his home. And Mack owned a dark-colored Chevy Impala, the type that Biggie's assailant used for the drive-by murder, but LAPD superiors wouldn't allow Detective Poole to do forensic tests on Mack's car. That's the car that he's standing next to in the thumbnail. People also saw Orlando Anderson at Biggie's murder scene. Now, this is the person that they say killed Tupac. Now, if I killed Tupac Shakur, why would I be at a party with Biggie and still alive? If I was the person that assassinated Tupac Shakur, why am I still alive? And why am I at Biggie's party? Okay? Well, I believe Orlando Anderson is a police informant. Okay? I think this Orlando Anderson is somebody that the police kind of kept close to him to blame things on. And I don't think he had enough understanding and enough gumption and enough maturity to know that eventually they're going to put this all on me, and eventually they're going to take my life. And that's eventually what happened. People saw Orlando Anderson at Biggie's murder scene as previously detailed. Evidence supports Anderson's work with Suge Knight in the Vegas lobby scuffle to help set up a false gang retaliation motive for Tupac's murder. That people saw Anderson with the Crip uncle, Keefe Davis, and the death row cops furthers the evidence of connection between the death row cops and the murders of Biggie and Tupac. Other prominent witnesses to death row's murder of Biggie included death row accountant Mark Hyland. Hyland describes how Suge Knight, accompanied by death row's police associates Rafael Ray Perez and David Mack, gave him money to obtain the gun that they said that were used to kill Biggie. Hyland gave details of these incidents on film from Nick Broomfield as well for Detective Poole when he was officially described investigating the murder. Poole found that Hyland's story matched his airline flights and hotel stays from LA to Phoenix, where Hyland said a Phoenix cop gave him the murder weapon with which he apparently drove back to LA. Most importantly, similar to reports of an FBI agent amongst the death row entourage tailing Tupac's car at his murder scene, an FBI agent was present at Biggie's murder. Detective Russell Poole and Nick Broomfield confirmed that Los Angeles Times report that New York police agents were present when the gunman shot Biggie. Poole and Broomfield further confirmed that one agent was a New York detective who also worked for the FBI and took pictures of Biggie minutes before his shooting. Imagine that. Imagine you're being investigated, right? And the people that are investigating you take pictures of you right before you're assassinated, right before you're murdered. What are we supposed to think about that? Award-winning reporter Kathy Scott further said it became widely reported that the FBI watched both Biggie and Tupac's murders. She also said the FBI agents told her they are supposed to stop their surveillance and intervene if a crime takes place during their surveillance. In his book, Labyrinth, Reverend O'Sullivan reported on Poole's investigation. Poole gave Sullivan copies of all his police documents, and they backed Sullivan's note that the FBI New York detective taking pictures of Biggie within minutes of his murder was Detective Oldham. Accompanying Oldham was another member of the New York police working with the federal agency, Special Agent Timothy Riley of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Former FBI informant Kevin Hackey, who claimed to have documents proving that an FBI agent followed in the line of cars behind Tupac's when he was murdered, also claimed the agent was accompanied by an ATF agent. So imagine, both the FBI and the ATF watched, took pictures, okay? They viewed these two men being assassinated, and they did nothing. They did nothing to intervene. Larry Shears, a former ATF agent, said that the ATF had a history of placing murder contracts on left-wing activists. In the 70s, Shears testified in court that the ATF contracted out the murders of Black Panther, Eldridge Cleaver, and labor organizer Cesar Chavez. The ATF also collaborated with the FBI to target Huey Newton at that time. And finally, the FBI and ATF worked in the riot unit Joint Task Force, LA, that waged a war on gangs just after the riots in Bloods and Crips piece. So what he's doing is he's relating other information from other investigations. In their questioning of Biggie's friends, police incidentally revealed agents' surveillance of Biggie within minutes of his murder. Lil Cease Lloyd, one of the pastors sitting behind Biggie, said that police showed him these FBI photos of the museum party. Do you know who this is? They asked him, not realizing that they were pointing at Lloyd himself. The photos were taken as late as 10 minutes before the killing, according to a Los Angeles Times story. For his documentary, Biggie and Tupac, Nick Broomfield filmed his discussions with Biggie's mother, Willetta Wallace, who asked Biggie's old friend Lloyd to come over and talk with Broomfield. Lloyd told Broomfield about the police showing him the pictures. Broomfield then tracked down the FBI NYPD Detective Oldham, who took the pictures. Broomfield filmed at least one scene that was both grave and humorous. He showed himself driving through traffic as he called Detective Oldham with his cell phone, miking both sides of the conversation. Broomfield asked if this detective, blanking out the name, Oldham said yes, confirmed that he was the one who took the pictures in LA. But he wouldn't say that why he was investigating Biggie Smalls. Oldham said he couldn't talk because he was in court at Sean Puffy Combs' gun possession trial. And despite 3 years passing, Biggie's murder was an open case. Then Broomfield dodged Oldham's attempt to get information and further expose him for a comic moment in this serious film. I'm going to stop right there. All that information is very vital, okay, in trying to understand why Biggie, Tupac was assassinated and none of these gentlemen's murders were solved. You have investigative agencies, okay, viewing rappers right before they die, taking pictures of rappers right before they die, and as they're assassinated, nobody's jumping out and saying, hey, FBI, ATF, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is the information that we have, we're going to be able to solve this case. That didn't happen at all. Okay, it's as if the FBI and ATF were assisting the assassination, were gathering information on the assassination to have that information, or supervising the assassination to make sure it took place. That's what I believe they were doing. I believe that the FBI and the ATF were supervising both these young men's assassinations to make sure they were accomplished and reporting to the higher ups. That's what I believe, because they were both being tailed by the FBI 3-4 months before they were being murdered. Tupac was always being tailed by the FBI, always. So imagine you always being tailed by an investigative agency and you being able to be assassinated and no information, nobody solves anything. Imagine that happening. That can't happen nowhere else. But it can happen to rappers. So, hey, this is history right here. And I guarantee you that history repeats itself. So, I just want to come to you guys with that little bit of information right there. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have a lot more chapters coming to you. I have a lot more other topics that I would like to do. But you have to understand, y'all, I'm a busy guy. I try to stay busy. And it helps me. And I have a lot of goals I want to accomplish. I'm studying right now to get my CDL permit again because I just want to open myself up to more opportunities. So pray for me. I'll pray for you. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm out.